it's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to get angry. Welcome to the Hen Report from our hen house. This is Jasmin Singer.
This is Mariann Sullivan.
And as you know, the Our Hen House podcasts come out multiple times a week. Rising Anxieties on Tuesdays, the Hen Report on Thursdays, and the long-form interview on Fridays. Bonus content for Flock members only comes out on Mondays. We're on YouTube. We're on all the podcatchers. So please hit subscribe and like and comment wherever you listen or watch. So it was your birthday this week, and you did a special Rising Anxieties, and I have to admit I haven't watched it yet. But it's on my list to do today, and I'm a little behind. But, like, how are you feeling just about your birthday, about your different brand of Rising Anxieties this week?
I feel old, which I am. Rising Anxieties, I mean, I really loved what I said. I'm not gonna deny it. I mean, I thought about it all morning, and I just thought, "This is brilliant," but I am nervous that nobody else liked it, but kind of what I did was I focused on, the language of the Declaration of Independence because it's the 250th anniversary this
Mhm.
year. I think it's in August, and I'm 76, so 1776, 76, like, there seemed to be a theme going on. I was wearing my 76 trombone necklace that you gave me.
Technically a garland, but I liked that you made it a necklace.
Well, put it around your neck, it's a
Sure.
necklace.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it was a little more elaborate than this. I mean, hopefully some people who are listening to this actually like also listen to it. So I
I
don't
think
want to
so.
like overdo it, but just focusing on this whole, um, the language that everybody knows, at least every American knows, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is what a government should be providing. And they talk about nature. I don't think they meant animals, but they only meant it for men. And they really only meant it for white men. I mean, some of them wanted it to be broader than white men, and others did not want it to be broader than white men, but they said but everybody knew it just meant white men,
Mhm.
at least in most of the state or half the states. And, so if they can broaden it for men, why can't they broaden it a little further? And life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It occurred to me after I said it that life, if we were to provide a right to life to animals, which I totally think we should, that's basically veganism. I mean, basically the same philosophy. They deserve to live. They don't deserve to die for frivolous reasons. And then liberty, a lot of campaigns are based on liberty, but it's very hard for them to go far enough. And that's why you get things like cage free, which provides some liberty, but hardly what most people think of when you talk about liberty. But the third one, I think there's potential there, at least in my brain, because I'm in love with my idea. You know how when you fall in love with an idea? The pursuit of happiness. Like animals can be happy. Not all animals, perhaps. Science centers in here what we should do for which animals should be a factor. So it's not like life, which it covers everybody all the time. So it's too big. You can't pull it off because it's too big. This is like, well, what forms of happiness do animals pursue? And the government should not get in the way and should help animals not have others get in the way of them pursuing their ability to be happy, because maybe that's what the world should be about. And if the founders thought that's what the world should be about, maybe they were right. Just happiness.
I love it.
But, the government can't guarantee happiness, that's for sure, because like, hearts break and things happen and terrible things happen, but they can guarantee that you will be allowed to pursue it, and most animals are not allowed to pursue happiness.
It's so brilliant,
It's
and
good, right?
yeah, it's really good. I mean,
Alright.
it's
If
also
you think it's terrible out there, don't tell me, 'cause I'm very
it's
sensitive.
a new way of looking at something too, and I always
Exactly.
appreciate that. I have a new way of looking at, some of my old T-shirts. I'm making a T-shirt quilt,
Oh, right.
and
Good
I
information.
have, like, my drawers were, like, bursting with mostly vegan and animal rights T-shirts that I frankly never wore or wear, really. And I wouldn't get rid of them because I'm overly sentimental, so I'm making a T-shirt quilt. I have,
Yeah,
like,
no, that's a good idea. I've
different
seen them, but
yeah,
uh,
I have different quadrants of categories, like, there's a gay section, there's an activist section, there's a vegan section, and there's a, like, nostalgia section, like, that one has a strawberry shortcake T-shirt in it. But yeah, it's like you were just making me think of that with your discussion just now, because it's kind of like upcycling ideas in a way. And I love that idea of just changing the new way that you're looking at things. By the way, I wanted to tell you I started rehearsals for my play, and did I tell you the play is called Deep Blue Sound by Abe Cooler, I think? Kugler. And did I tell you that in addition to having a vegan line, just by coincidence, I also am in a conversation with someone and we're talking about overfishing, and I say, "Oh, I heard about that on a podcast." Isn't that funny?
That you heard about it on a podcast?
My I'm talking about an animal rights podcast. Like in
I think I missed the point.
my character in the play is talking about something
Oh,
she heard about
so
it.
your character might have been listening to you in real life.
Maybe it's
So
possible.
we would have not complained about overfishing because all fishing is overfishing.
Well, it's really like she calls it the factory farming of fishing. Anyway, it's very funny. Uh, and just I wanted to mention one more thing, and then I know we have a lot of articles to discuss, which is that I think regular listeners know that I work with World Shapers when I'm not working with our hen house, and you can learn more at worldshapers.com, but it's a nonprofit that basically helps visionary type people think about book ideas and really get them out in the world. So everything from ideating to book proposals to finding a publisher, uh,
Is
to
it
writing it,
is ideating a word?
as far as I know.
All right.
But anyway, I wanted our listeners to know that there's a new book proposal program that is totally free, that we at World Shapers are starting in less than a month, and you have to apply by April 17th. So that's coming up really fast. And it's a 3-month intensive on fully online on your own time, uh, for people who have high potential ideas and want structured support to develop a book proposal for a nonfiction book about animal rights and animal protection, food issues as well. So if you are interested, which I think this is a really great opportunity, we will put the link to that in the show notes, but I hope
Yeah,
that
I think it's an
people.
enormous opportunity. I mean, I think I said this before, but now that I'm 76, I don't feel obligated to remember where I said things and when, so I'll repeat myself. But the number of different talents you need to get a book out is so unbelievable, and they don't go together necessarily. Like, people can have a great idea, people can have great research skills and the ability to write wittily and charmingly and have no idea how to put a book proposal together or how to market the book, or they might be like the kind of person who's very awkward. I like it just requires such a huge number of skills to get a book together. And you're providing, those skills for people who may not have them all, but still have that great book inside them.
Yeah, well, thank you. I agree with all of that. I recently joined. I was finally recently uh eligible to join and joined the American Association of Literary Agents. And I started watching their back catalog of talks, and one of them was about acquisitions. And it, it's just, I feel like one of the great challenges of my life is going to be helping to get some of these books into traditional publishing outlets, because it's shockingly hard. And I know that our listeners, who are incredibly sophisticated thinkers and doers around animal rights issues, have the chops. So, send us your ideas. Um, all right. So maybe there will be some ideas in some of these articles that we have, because there's some really cool news that.
It's excellent news this week. I tried to focus on excellent news because, uh, like anybody who's paying attention to the news, and unfortunately, I pay more attention to the news than I should, but I, I'm just, it's been a very rough week. I mean, and just beside myself. I
You
mean,
mean with
I
the
can't
news?
yeah. With just the news of the world, the news of Trump and Iran and, like, and
Mhm.
everything else that's going on. Like, I try to focus on good news for us today, partly because I always do, but, partly because, like, who can handle bad news? Like, the world.
Makes you wanna teleport to a Waffle House, doesn't it? Alright,
When you hear that story, I laugh.
this Etsy news is
Not
so
funny. It's
exciting,
really
and especially in light of our very recent interview. Why don't you tell us?
I looked at it was March 20th. It's like we had Susie Stork on, who runs this tiny little organization, with a
It
huge volunteer force,
a
but very
huge,
strong
huge
voice.
organization in so many
Coalition to
ways.
Abolish the Fur Trade. And I mean, I think other organizations were probably I it's always hard to know just looking at articles like who was the lead and because everybody talks about a victory like this, and I'm sure everybody was involved to some extent, but Coalition to Abolish the Fur Trade was really, really on top of it. They have been focusing on this for like 2
Yeah.
months. Like 2 months.
You know
And they
what's so
won.
funny?
I mean, they were when she was on March 20th, she said they were just beginning this campaign and, oh, it's crazy. So it's about Etsy and, Etsy which is a huge seller of everything, and one of the things they are a huge seller of course, is fur or items that have fur, and they just did this campaign, which involved lots of protests, and, let me just check this article. There's an also I also picked out, which we'll put in the show notes, a few articles from other outlets about it. This is from Ethos, which is kind of a fashiony, site,
Mhm.
and they mentioned that there were thousands of listings, still on Etsy because it goes into effect in August, and it's very strong. Etsy prohibits products made from or containing natural fur from animals killed primarily for their pelts, regardless of age or origin. This includes products like raw pelts, finished garments, and accessories made with real fur from animals such as mink, fox, and rabbit. So that even accessories that just have a little bit of fur in them, they're out.
I have to
I
tell you a
mean,
couple
they're
things.
huge.
One thing is that when we were interviewing Susie, uh, and I just feel so stupid sometimes, like, when she mentioned that Etsy sold fur, for some inexplicable reason, I was shocked. Like, I remember being like, "Well, I buy things on Etsy." I mean, it doesn't make any sense, like, why I was shocked. But the second she said that, I was like,
Because you
"Yeah."
kinda think of it as like a nice thing,
Yeah, and she said, like,
maybe.
directly from furriers and whatnot. So, this is so cool.
Alright,
But,
58-day campaign, so not even 2 months.
can I tell you something else, though? I was and I think you're gonna really like this story, so don't roll your eyes thinking I'm going on a tangent, because I am, but I think you'll like it. I was watching Brandi
If
Carlile
you're listening and not watching, I just rolled my eyes.
I was watching Brandi Carlile on, Colbert, and
Oh my god.
she told this story about how when she was, like, young and broke and, like, had a shit job and someone came to her door, selling vacuum cleaners, and she a and sh and he did some, like, tests about, like, what could be in her air and was like, "Oh, you really need this vacuum cleaner." And
I
she
think that
was li
was an I Love Lucy episode.
and she and she was like, "Dude, I get paid $5 an hour, I can't afford that." And he's like, "No, you know what? I really like you, and you really need this, so let me talk to my boss, and we could just give it to you, and maybe, like, down the line or something, like, maybe you'll be able to pay some, but, like, don't worry." And she was, like, young and naive and signed something, and he leaves the vacuum cleaner there, and then she gets a bill for $1,200, and she said she got.
We all saw that coming.
Yeah, of course. And I'm sure it's, like, mortifying in retrospect to tell a story for her to tell a story like this. But so then it just gets really angry. Like, she said, at first she was, like, kind of embarrassed, but then she was really, really angry. And she wrote to the company and said, told him or called his boss, the vacuum cleaner seller's boss, and said, "This is what happened. I have been scammed. I know what this guy looks like. I am going to go to Kinko's and make all of these photocopies of, it's explaining how I got scammed, and I'm gonna follow him door to door and give everyone this flyer unless you come and get this, and I'm not paying for it. And she said they let her keep it. They took away the charge. And the reason Brandi Carlile told that story was because she was making the case that like a campaign she's been involved with, like this sort of anti-ICE, anti-Trump campaign, is about how like you can change your mind. And it's okay to get angry and change your mind. Meaning people who feel scammed by Trump, it's okay to change your mind.
How
We
did she change
welcome you
how did
here.
she change her mind?
How did she change her mind?
Yeah.
Because she changed her mind about, like, I guess, wanting the vacuum cleaner, and then
Oh, okay.
yeah. But the whole point is that, we welcome you to our side. You can get angry next. And so now circling back to this, it just made me think about animal exploitation. Like, that was the first thing I thought of, was like, people are buying into this idea that it's okay to buy fur if you're buying it from a responsible furrier, or quote unquote responsible furrier. It's okay to eat meat, especially if you're getting quote unquote humane meat, or a small, like, quote unquote small family farm, etc. Most of us were scammed in our lives, and we believed it too, for whatever reason. And it's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to get angry. And
And it's okay for us, or people who have been vegan for a long time, to not, like, dwell on the fact that you should have woken up earlier. Like,
right.
I mean, obviously, we all know that.
I found the whole thing really inspiring, and just the idea that, like, we welcome you over here, like,
Yeah.
and Etsy changing its mind. That's how this all started. See, I'm bringing it back. Etsy changing its mind is sort of like Susie Stork saying to them, I'm gonna put flyers everywhere saying what's going on here unless you stop this insanity.
Right, but,
So
animal rights activists have been doing that all the time, and, it didn't always work, and A, kudos to Susie Stork and CAFT. They did a
mhm,
great job, and B, times are changing.
mhm,
Maybe it's a little easier. I'll just add, I mentioned, I think, that it was 58 it wasn't 2 months, it was 58 days. 58 days. 50 protests they had, 17 cities. They disrupted Etsy's live presentation at the Morgan Stanley Technology, Media, and Telecom
amazing.
Conference in San Francisco. Um, on the stage, confronting the owners on the stage, and here we are. And I just
Amazing.
added another article, which I won't go into detail, but it's fun to look at because it's from Outdoor Life, and it's talking about all of these conservation and American trappers. Oh, it's hurting conservation and American trappers. Like, and then they have these pictures of these couples, these wholesome looking couples, or they think they're wholesome looking, standing next to loads and loads of dead animal skins, which is really charming. And they're talking about how this will disrupt thousands of global sellers and upend small businesses owned by American trappers. And then they talk about conservation, as if killing, the whole My Lai theory. Now I was truly dating myself. I always call it the My Lai theory of wildlife management. My Lai was a town in Vietnam that was destroyed by American forces, and in the defense of it, they s- they the person who led the attack said we had to destroy the town in order to save it. It became a very famous line,
I
and
didn't
that's
know
what
that.
yeah. Uh, so wildlife managers, we have to manage wildlife, and we have to kill them in order to make it better for them. Like this whole thing,
Mhm.
and the whole, like, it's putting these people out of business thing. I just wanted to mention it. Just made me think, like, what other business except for all the animal killing businesses do people claim that they have this right to continue their business even after people don't want their product anymore? Like like that's have they heard about capitalism? Like, people don't want your product. If sellers don't wanna sell it, then
Yeah.
you find another job. Like, who cares about, like, it's just, and I was thinking of it in relationship to Kodak. I don't know whether people know, but Kodak was like, we live in Rochester, New York, and Kodak, which some of you probably remember, was the big employer here. And by big employer, I mean it employed everybody in the city. I mean, the only other big company here was Xerox, which also went bust. They both went bust. And, people had to scramble. That's what happens in capitalism. Like should the government have come in and said, no, we have to keep allowing film and not do digital technology because people will lose their job. People lose their jobs. That's like how this works. And yeah,
Mhm.
as of all the jobs that I would like to see people lose, it's like killing these poor little animals.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So I just added one other story, which we'll also put the show notes from Coalition to Abolish the Fur Trade, because they are on to their next project, and that is the Milan Fashion Show, which is one of the only two major fashion shows still showing fur, and apparently are very, very stubborn about it. So, they're not wasting any time. They're on the job.
Yeah, I was sad because also on the Colbert Show, Oprah was a guest, and they were showing her at Paris Fashion Week, and they were showing her photos, and there was one that she was wearing, like, a leather jumper, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I was in Paris visiting Stella McCartney, who's a very close friend of mine," and I'm like, "Oh, was it not vegan?" I mean, was it vegan? Was it not leather? But no, it was leather. So Stella, if you're listening.
Well, let's tell us what that Oprah's an idiot.
All right, let's move on. There's a lot of other news that you
So
pulled
I'm not
out.
sure that was a very edifying story. Screw Oprah. All right. Lots of food. I also added some food news, all of which I think is good news. All right. This is an article from The Conversation. I don't know what that site is, but young people more open to ditching meat than previously thought. New study. This is apparently about a study in the UK, which, they're ahead of the rest of us. And on the vegan trend, but still, it's not like everybody there is vegan by a long shot. And this new study showed that young people were asked, 1,000 young adults, whether they had thought about stopping eating meat when they were still in school, and half of them had. I mean, they didn't all stick with it, obviously, but half of them had thought about it, and a lot of them had tried it. At least half of the people who thought about it had tried it. They
Mhm.
tried to stop eating meat, and these are kids where, kids aren't really in charge of their own lives. And, some of them stuck with it, 25% stuck with it of the ones who had thought of stopping, and which is pretty high, and some stopped for a while. And the key things that they found, which makes total sense and kind of stuff we know, but good to find out evidence for it. One is parental support, absolutely key. Parents, run their kids' lives a lot of the time. Um, uh, they didn't ones who returned talked about causing inconvenience to their family. I'm sure they were told they were being causing inconvenience. And also their friends, schools, and parents were more supportive of them stopping being, vegetarian than when they starting. So that's a sad commentary. These are our people. These kids are our people.
Did
And
you did you go veg originally in college? Like, didn't you, go through a moment before
yeah, I
the
did. Um, yeah, I tried it for a while and then I stopped, yeah.
and yeah, and then years later came back. I
I
I
wouldn't
was
say
also
it was my parents' fault. I was well out of that. It was my own fault. Nobody else was at fault. Um, so, actually, the advice in this article is that, family support is really, really important, and teaching families to cook meals. I don't know how you pull that off, but, that it should be a focus. Cost, of course, that, if people are totally trying to replicate meat, it's gonna be expensive, so they
Mhm.
shouldn't. Hopefully, they should be given ideas other than that. And, worry. I mean, a lot of people still think that vegan diets aren't healthy for kids, and you do have to pay attention to B12, vitamin D, calcium, more for kids even than for adults. So, all of that good advice, and obviously, it needs to be a focus, but I thought it was really a nice study. Like,
Yeah.
that
I
many kids think about it, and, you think about it, and then you leave it behind, and then you never go back for the rest of your life. Kids, like, they're smarter than adults.
Mhm.
Alright, fiber maxing. Are you in?
Oh, yeah, I've been in for, 22 years.
But
I
I've been accidentally fiber maxing.
Yeah, samesies.
Alright,
This
this
is
is from PETA.
yeah, I love this.
What is TikTok's fiber maxing, and how does it help animals? I'm not really on TikTok, so I'm not aware of how
Our
big this
hen
is,
house
but
is.
apparently it's huge. Yes, yeah, our hen house is if you go on, TikTok. And, it's big. It's so exciting. It's the first health trend I can remember that is actually good for people, and it's really good for people. And inevitably, it leads to eating loads and loads of vegan foods because there ain't no fiber in animal foods at all. So, cancer, colorectal cancer, breast cancer, weight, gut microbiome reduces the risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's. I mean, what more do you want from foods? And it's yummy, and you can tell it's good for you. And I have other food articles as well. There's one, it was a reprint on Vegan News of an article that was in Veg Out magazine. And it's about the future of food isn't just plant based, it's fungal, fermented, and lab grown. And of course, lab grown we're familiar with, and Bruce Friedrich was just on talking about, the both plant based the fight to increase adoption of both plant based and lab grown. Well, lab grown. We're not calling it lab grown, cultivated meat. But we didn't talk as much about fungal, and
I
that's
have to
another
say,
really important part of this whole world.
I
Fermentation,
agree.
fungal bioreactors.
I agree that it's important, and I know what fungal means, but there's just something about the word that
It is
makes me think
unfortunate.
it makes me think of, like, toe cheese or something, like
No, mushrooms are fungi, and
I
that's
know.
pretty popular.
I'm not saying it's right, it's just like a gut reaction, so to
We're not just
speak.
talking about fungus. You don't have to have fungus. It's also fermentation, persistent fermentation, which is programming things like yeast, bacteria, and fungi, but we can forget the fungi, to produce specific proteins, fats, and other molecules. And this is Perfect Day is one of the companies that's using this. The Every company also with egg whites.
Mhm.
Loads of stuff going on here, which I need to know more about this. But the other area, which is kind of related but not exactly, this is more related. Also from Vegan News and also reprinted from Veg Out magazine, is that the kids are very into fermented foods these days. Not just the kids, but really the kids. Gen Z isn't buying plant-based meat, but they're spending record amounts on fermented foods. And this sounds right to me. We're talking about kimchi, kombucha, sourdough starters, miso. These are foods that really are intriguing people. And as this article says, Gen Z hasn't rejected the values behind plant-based meat. They've rejected the format. And the food industry is only just starting to understand the difference. And I think they're really onto something here. It's like replicating meat may be good for some people, but for other people, they really want like a whole new view of food. And fermented foods, I think, are onto something. Do you like
Mhm.
fermented foods like
That
small batch kimchi? Is that something that
Yeah,
you
I
yeah.
really do. I don't go out of my way to have it, and I'm not the biggest fan of kombucha anymore, although I used to be. I really like getting, sauerkraut
Yeah.
or, like, yeah, just
You're
cabbage,
you're on
fermented
trend.
cabbage. So delish. I'm on
Yeah.
trend, yeah. I was on trend before it was a trend.
A part
Um
of it is, what I think is one thing is interesting. Part of it is, it's just interesting and different flavors, but it's also like an interest in this kind of old school view of food, like with focusing on process and tradition and slowing down. These are all foods that take a long time, and also the gut brain connection is very in. That's also true with the fiber maxing trend. This article says the explosion of research linking the microbiome to mental health has given Gen Z a framework that resonates deeply, and God knows we all need a little bit more mental health.
Mhm.
Um, so that's cool. The
Yeah,
food, we're
very
we're
cool.
we're we're finding new ways of creating the food and finding foods that are going to make it easier for people to be plant-based. Finding a new way to do it, not replicating the old way. And of course, when we're talking about kids, they all want to create their own new world, not have
We're upcycling ideas.
upcycling ideas.
Exactly.
The plant-based, I'll just lift out this one quote. The plant-based meat industry spent a decade and billions of dollars trying to answer one question. How do we make plants taste like meat? Gen Z is asking a fundamentally different question. How do we eat in a way that makes our bodies and the planet feel good without pretending our food is something it's not? And I just wanna say, I love me an Impossible Burger, so I don't think this is the only trend that's going on, and of course, I'm not one of the young folks, so I guess I
Mm,
better stop talking about how old I am. I realize I do bring it up kind of a lot. Oh, it's a
that's
birthday
funny.
thing.
Yeah,
I
I
love
get
my
it.
birthday. And, Bruce Friedrich was just on, as I mentioned, and we didn't talk that much about fermented foods. We talked more about cellular, like, what do they call it? Cultivated meat and plant-based meat. And he was very adamant, well, not adamant, but he was very strong on the fact that the meat industry, even the big players in the meat industry, are enthusiastic. And I was more on the trying to be polite, but basically saying, "Screw the meat industry, I hate them," which of course he was not doing. And I'm just gonna say that, maybe he was right, because from Protein Production Technology, a magazine that I try to read whenever I can, JBS, which is, of course, the biggest meat producer in the world, JBS launches cultivated protein R&D center in Brazil with $37 million investment. That's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow,
So maybe he's right.
that is really
You put all
cool.
that money into it. I mean, they obviously what they're interested in isn't philosophy or continuing to eat the way we all eat. What they're interested in is money, and they obviously see there's money to be made here. So that is very reassuring.
Indeed. Well, I liked the curation this week, Marianne. Well
That's
done.
because I did it. You had to leave early, and so I did it really fast. So I hope it worked.
No, it was great. Just a quick announcement before we depart today, and this is a shout out to our flock member, Sheila Ward. The St. Francis Guild at Christ Church, Georgetown in Washington, D.C. is inviting everyone to a special online Eastertide book study for Love of Animals by Professor Charles Camosi. And it kicks off on Wednesday, April 15th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It's an 8-week series of 1-hour Zoom sessions guided by Dr. Susan Bond of George Mason University. And the book explores how Christian principles call for ethical treatment of animals, whether in food, research, or companion animal care. The group will be reading and discussing it together with an eye toward how we can do better. So to sign up and get your copy of the book, you can email Sheila. It's a little complicated of an email address, so I think we'll add it to the show notes, but I'll say the number 45 dash juggle dash webbing at iCloud.com. So
There's
again,
a story. There's a story there. I don't know what it is, but
I
there's
don't either. 45 juggle webbing at iCloud.com. And for a preview, check out Charles Camosi's interview on our Henhouse episode 428. So we'll include that in the show notes as well. I think that's about all we've got today. Don't forget that Rising Anxieties comes out on Tuesdays, the Hen Report on Thursdays, and the long form interviews are on Fridays, bonus for flock members Mondays. We're a podcast, we're on YouTube. Also, please subscribe, hit like wherever you listen or watch. And thanks so much to all of you who are out there listening and watching. And thanks to Vicki Beechler for her help in producing this episode. Bye.